Hi everyone, thank you for joining me for another edition of Skul Bilong Yu. On this episode, among other topics, we take a look at teacher training programs. First up, we take a look at a new initiative by the Education Department and UNICEF aimed at supporting the many children who are out of school in Papua New Guinea.
Despite Papua New Guinea experiencing continued economic growth over the last decade, access to education is still a challenge. According to estimates from the Education Department, more than 600,000 children do not have access to this basic right. To fix this alarming trend, the Out of School Children Initiative has been developed. The Out of School Initiative calls for action to invest in better data and demonstrates that reaching the most marginalized may initially cost more but also yield greater benefits. According to this initiative, better statistics and innovative tools can help guide governments and donors to allocate their education funding more effectively and efficiently.
Our children will now complete 14 years of school education from here on, and it is going to be our effort in addressing the out-of-school children initiative to make sure that those disabilities, those hiccups will now be addressed by everyone responsible, from the government and from those of us that are providing services, and from those of us that are responsible for planning, and from those of us that are responsible for the law, to be able to make sure that our children have got the right to go to school, they remain in school until they complete the school education. That's the agenda. So if we all do that thing, one day there should be no out-of-school initiative.
The Department of Education recently met with stakeholders regarding the Out of School Children Initiative. This meeting, supported by UNICEF PNG, emphasized on achieving the Foundation for All goals as well as to sensitize policymakers from different sectors on this global agenda. Also in attendance were officials from New York UNICEF headquarters as well as the UNESCO Institute of Statistics.
For education alone, money is going to the district, and as Finance Minister I will be pressing very hard on the districts to ensure that infrastructure gets the biggest sector of attention in the districts. This year alone, 445 million kina is going right across the districts for education sector. Through district services improvement program. We've had experience of money parked at national planning, money parked at finance, money parked at our national agencies, elementary school, primary schools, and high schools are devolved functions for provinces, districts, and NMGs. And so we felt that Waigani and Port Moresby do not know best what is happening in the outbacks as far as infrastructure, schools, and other government assets are concerned. So DSIP is a medium by which money is remitted quicker to the districts.
The overall goal of the Out of School Children Initiative is to reduce the number of children who are out of school in PNG by developing detailed profiles of out of school children and children in school who are at risk of dropping out, assessing the underlying barriers that prevent those children from completing basic education, recommending innovative policies and strategies that can bring them into school and keep them there. The meeting also shared successful global models and approaches, including good practices in achieving equity through measurable results from children, and to equip the National Department of Education to better understand the issues of out-of-school children initiative, value education, and early childhood development. These initiatives are to be reflected in the Ministry of Education plan for 2015 to 2024. The meeting focused on the estimated 600,000 children who do not go to school at all or who drop out for various reasons and do not complete the basic primary education.
When we talk about the out-of-school initiative, we're not only talking about children who can come to school, but we're talking about children who are now in school who cannot read and write and cannot count, and they go through all their 10 years of education, like this year, would be, and still be not competent enough to be able to go to university education. So what do? When it comes to offering examination, we find that they are not good enough to go on because of their attainment level is not good enough to go to university education. They haven't got a GPA. But they've gone through 13 years of school education at risk. At risk. Doesn't mean that there are forms of disabilities, whatever it is. That is one thing that they are not competent enough to be able to stay in school. And they drop out, they lose interest. And that is also, they're counted as out of school children.
The education sector in Papua New Guinea has seen significant achievements over the past years, with the net enrollment rate in basic education increasing from 53% in 2007 to 74% in 2013. Yet key challenges remain. These challenges, among others, include poor access to schools, low student retention rates, and issues in the quality of education and getting children to school at the right time and age. According to Dr. Tapo, the task ahead is not just to ensure that children get a good education, but also to make sure that in the near future there are no children staying out of school. Along with education, other sectors also contribute significantly to the holistic development of a child. Furthermore, the Out of School Children initiative will be the enabler to drive the government's priorities and policies on free education. It is envisaged that this initiative, if successfully implemented, will see every boy and girl going to school and should be able to read and write before the age of 8.
Welcome back. Effective teacher training is one way of addressing the many challenges facing the education sector in Papua New Guinea. For instance, if teachers are trained well in teachers' colleges, they in turn be able to apply best teaching practices to their students. Skul Bilong Yu recently visited Sacred Heart Teachers College in Central Province.
Rural areas in Rigo, they still have a need for teachers, and it was always my passion to become a teacher, to bring the knowledge back to my kids out there at Rigo.
The Sacred Heart Teachers College is one of 13 teachers colleges in Papua New Guinea and was established primarily to train potential teachers from PNG's rural and remote areas. The college came into existence after the Catholic Church noted that schools in the Goilala area had closed down due to a lack of teachers. They then decided that there was a need to have a primary teachers college in the southern region to enable students to resume school in remote areas.
The Catholic Church here in the southern region have found out that there was a need to have a primary teachers college in the southern region to train teachers to go back to the remote areas to serve as teachers and to bring that education or to deliver education services to the most remote areas of southern region.
Students first go through a year of foundation courses in which they are prepared and tested on 5 subject areas, which include English and literature, social studies, spiritual studies, and maths and science, all of which form the core of the school curriculum.
During my first year of training here, I learned a lot of things, especially how to go about with teaching kids, small kids, especially because we mainly started on a level which we wanted to see how the small children's brain work, how they understand things at a very early stage. and as they are growing up. So there are a lot of things that I learned from there when we had to get the particular units that was they were teaching us on how to understand how children's brain develop.
Every year one is given a unit, and these units come out from one of these 5 strands. So approximately we have about 6 to 7 units that we offer, and each unit comes out from the strands. So we have, for instance, we can have language, maths, science, social science, practice teaching, and community development. And this would be like 6 units that we teach the first year.
Students are then assessed on theory through a series of written tests, as well as a practical teaching test. During their practicals, students are assessed on how they manage a classroom and how they teach children with varying learning abilities.
Our assessment for our trainee students here comes in a variety of ways, but the most important one that we try to see and measure where how much we have taught and how much students have learned to become very good teachers is in our practice teaching. So during the practice teaching, we assess what we have taught. That's basically with content, and there are 8 curriculum, or we can call it subjects, that we teach in the college that they go out to impart that knowledge. So we actually measure the level of content, the knowledge, and also we look at the teaching methodology.
Overall, the Sacred Heart Teachers College provides students with a well-rounded teacher training experience. The college facilitated a trip for a number of teachers to Medan in 2014 to help develop the standard-based curriculum. However, they are yet to receive guidance and training on the new teacher training curriculum. They hope to take part in the Teacher in Services program this year, rolled out by the Department of Education.
We have all heard and read from the media that we have this SBE or SBC. At the Teachers College level now, we haven't actually gone into training as yet, but we believe this year, 2015, will be taking part in the in-services that will be rolled out.
Applying to the Teachers College is a long process, and the selection criteria depends on where the student is from. Students from rural and remote areas are given preference, but a minimum grade of B is required in language, literature, and mathematics. For other non-core subjects, a D is acceptable. The decision about student intake lies with the Catholic Education Board of Diocese, who need to meet the requirements of the department. There are in total 110 spaces each year for new students, and 20 students are selected from each province in the southern region.
Students write in May to the diocese. They do the pre-selection from July, August, September then to us here at the Sacred Heart Teachers College. The governing council does the cross-checking and final checking and accepting, and then it goes to the teacher education, MSU, NEB for final, and we take them.
Welcome back. We now continue our focus on the teacher training program at the Bomana Sacred Heart Teachers College. Bomana Sacred Heart Teachers College, located a few kilometers outside Port Moresby, has come a long way since its establishment in 2010. While the college is into its 6th year of existence, staff and students are going to experience a few changes. Starting this year, student teachers attending the college will receive 3 years of training.
So, because of the 3-year diploma, we have to look for money for the classroom space and teaching and learning and boarding and lodging. So, two must go together. And when we do that, then we have to have the housing for the staff. Because it's increasing, we have to have accommodation for the staff, accommodation for the students, and the teaching and learning space. So everything needs to expand.
These future teachers who travel along difficult routes to get to the training do not take such opportunities for granted. The student teachers are well-mannered, very independent and proactive in organizing social and spiritual activities on campus. Leadership skills are taught right from the start so that when they go out to schools to teach, they are equipped to be professional teachers as well as respectable leaders who lead by good example. Student teachers are also taught key values, knowledge and skills that they will need when they teach in remote schools in the southern region and other regions.
Village technology. They cook for themselves. They're taught to bake. They're taught to grow. We have a plot down there that every Saturday, they try to grow things in a garden to be self-reliant. To see that I can survive, I can do it myself. And to teach those young people, let's do something for ourselves. So, yes, we talk about village technology, really training them to bake. And they bake. We have special gatherings at the college. They bake the bread themselves, the bun, cook outside, inside. Make little gardens out there. And we supply the kitchen when we have. Yes. So we try to maintain the village lifestyle also. Not think about all the computers and everything.
At the Sacred Heart Teachers College, lecturers try their very best to ensure that their student teachers receive the best teacher training possible. Lecturers go as far as reaching into their own pockets to help their student, for example, by downloading useful information from the internet. Indeed, training quality teachers is one of their many important priorities. Lecturers do not only provide students with learning materials, but also with financial assistance.
So when we're looking at the rural remote in the southern region, these are the very people that are way up there. There's no commercial activities taking place. Like little markets selling ice block, selling betel nut. That's hardly somebody getting a tukina in a day. So you think of Boilala people up in the mountain. You think of Rigo Inland and Amazon all the way to Sudest Island in Milne Bay. There's no commercial activities. So when the Catholic bishops started the college with the help of Father Paul Jennings, I should mention him, he's the one working very, very hard and he's the chairman to the Governing Council to secure sponsorship. So European Union was around in 2010, so they started full 100% sponsorship of tuition and lodging. So that's how it came about, to support these people who are coming from rural remote in a school fee. So the department sets the mark, how much the colleges should collect from students as self-sponsor, and then we start asking around and knocking at doors and getting people to help the students.
Located in an area that is away from the city's loud and noisy traffic, crowded shopping centers and dust, the college is one of the best, quietest and most peaceful study environments. The college will soon have a new female dormitory and the construction work has already begun.
88 bed space for female dormitory. That's 2.3 million from the church partnership with the state, from the national planning. So we're building a dormitory, and then we have to put up classrooms after the dormitory.
Teaching conditions in rural Papua New Guinea is one of the main reasons why most teachers prefer urban schools over rural schools. With the college motto of educating minds, touching hearts and transforming lives, this particular teachers college is training teachers to serve their students and communities and be the best that they can be.
And that's the big thing which the Catholic Church is crying for, is Christian teachers to be committed to the work and to live the gospel values. To be a good teacher. It's the whole thing is of self-respect for myself and learn to serve others well.
Teacher in service programs are vital for all schools. This is one way of ensuring that our students receive the best education.
What makes a great teacher? Teaching is one of the most complicated jobs today. It demands broad knowledge of subject matter, curriculum and standards, enthusiasm, a caring attitude, and a love of learning, knowledge of discipline and classroom management techniques, and a desire to make a difference in the lives of young people. With all these qualities required, it's no wonder that there is a shortage of great teachers. Good teachers are likely made up of a combination of many unique qualities that allow them to do their job effectively. There is no denying, of course, that all teachers have their own unique combination of these qualities. Every teacher is different.
A quality teacher would be a person who is interested in working with people, particularly young people, and a person who is genuinely interested in helping young people to develop their intellectual capacities. And a person with that interest is committed to go beyond what's in the curriculum to support students. And it is a person who has time for the children, who has time to understand the children, how they behave, and the level of the intelligence, and is prepared to give time to those children.
Organizations in Papua New Guinea are facing changing needs which are economic, social, and technological in nature. As such, training programs play an important role in overcoming these challenges and to cater the needs of the organizations. Training is also important in the education sector. Training in education, particularly for teachers, is important to improve the quality of education in Papua New Guinea. Teachers play a crucial role in implementing educational reforms in accordance with the aims of the National Department of Education. The success of a school curriculum, for instance, is closely related to its effective implementation. Teachers must have an excellent knowledge of the school curriculum and must possess the necessary skills to implement the curriculum together with any modifications.
Training for teachers is very, very important because it is through the training that the teachers learn the philosophy of education, they learn the psychology of education, they learn about students' behavior, the teachers learn about the subjects they will teach, they learn how to the methods of teaching, they learn how to break down the curriculum into topics and from topics to teaching teachable units, and they learn to prepare lessons, and the lessons are the activities that through that process of teaching and learning, the knowledge and skills are imparted to the students.
In-service training is a professional and personal educational activity for teachers to improve their efficiency, ability, knowledge and motivation in their professional work. Induction for new teachers is the beginning of a continuum of professional learning, commencing with pre-service education and extending through continuous learning for experienced teachers. Teaching involves the use of a wide body of knowledge about the subject being taught and another set of knowledge about the most effective ways to teach that subject to different kinds of learner. It therefore requires teachers to undertake a complex set of tasks every minute. A distinction is sometimes made between inducting a teacher into a new school, explaining the school's vision and procedures, and inducting a new teacher into the teaching profession by providing the necessary support.
The first one, induction for being a teacher, that process normally takes place at teachers' colleges or teacher training institutions, because it is during that process of training that teachers are introduced to what is teaching. They need to understand what is teaching and all the areas about the teaching that they are required to perform. Okay, so they need to know, as I said, the philosophy of education, what is education and whom they're dealing with, the kind of curriculum, the type of subject areas. They need to understand that. And then they become specialized in one subject area or two subject areas that they will teach. Induction when they're actually in the school. This normally takes place in the school, and the school administration organizes kind of orientation program for teachers. And new graduates in a school, either in primary or secondary schools, normally it is the senior teacher or the departmental heads that take charge to introduce a new graduate into teaching. If a teacher is a maths teacher, then it is the senior teacher in maths that will introduce the teacher into teaching. And also it is important that the school inducts a new graduate into the policies of the school, the culture of the school, what the school is doing or what is expected to do, and also the structure of the school. Who is doing what, from the head teacher down to the base level teacher, and the responsibilities that go with the positions that the teacher assumes in the school. They are very important areas for a beginner to understand. And also, it is important that the new teacher understands the Papua New Guinea teacher's code of ethics. It is very, very important that they need to know their conduct, how they behave, how they dress, how they react with other staff, how they react with students, and their interactions with the community. Those are very, very important areas that a new teacher must be inducted to.
Teachers are professionals in the service they deliver to young people. A teaching career encompasses all types of facilitated learning opportunities, including gaining credentials such as academic degrees through formal coursework, the opportunity to participate in conferences, and informal learning opportunities situated in practice. A teacher's job is stressful. It is hard for a teacher to manage a classroom of sometimes unruly, always attention-demanding students. A teacher must apply their skills under stressful conditions and will gain multitasking ability over time and with experience.
In terms of professional development, it is desirable, as the employer, we would want to see that the teachers' knowledge of the subject they teach are assessed on maybe on annual basis or two years, to see the strengths and weaknesses of a teacher in a particular subject. It is good to assess the level of competency. If teachers have weaknesses in the subject areas that they're teaching, then we need to prepare appropriate training programs to help enhance the capacity in order that they deliver quality education.
In Papua New Guinea, teachers are employed by the Teaching Service Commission located in Port Moresby. The Commission takes care of the welfare of teachers in Papua New Guinea with its provincial heads in respective provinces. With the teaching information base to monitor teachers, the Teaching Service Commission is working actively to address issues affecting teachers, such as the payment of teachers' leave fares affecting teachers.
Effective and smooth processing of leave fares depend on good teacher information. If teacher information is accurate, then it should enable a province to administer and disperse leave fares. But when the database or the teacher information is not updated, and it can allow for teachers to abuse and try to verify information for the purpose of getting leave fares, it makes it become more complex and complicated. And Teaching Service Commission does not have a teacher biodata because that function is administered by other education authorities. Given the fact that leave fares become an issue over some years now, the Commission is looking into setting up a centralized teacher database that has links with the provinces so that input from provinces is updated by the central database. And using that central database, Teaching Service Commission can liaise on behalf of the provinces directly with the Department of Treasury and Finance to update the government on the leave fare matters so that the appropriate amount or the correct amount of leave fares are given to the provinces or given to teachers due for leave. And we will not continue to face problems like what we currently face at the moment. That is that thinking is in the pipeline for the Teaching Service Commission and other government agencies to work towards that for 2016.
This is Skul Bilong Yu. Over the years, many reforms have been introduced within the education system in Papua New Guinea. We now take a look at how these reforms have changed over time.
In the mid-1990s and early 2000, the government introduced education reforms in primary schools and high schools to allow more children to go to school. But the reforms brought with it challenges. What has stood out from these education reforms is nothing more than impressive. It fueled a growing decline in the education standard in Papua New Guinea. According to the National Research Institute, for about 14 years, the PNG education system went through a series of numerous education reforms. One such is the outcome-based education system, implemented in 2001. The reform introduced new policies where students go through grade 6 without sitting for a national exam to screen out the less competitive ones. During the years of this education reform, students have had difficulties in understanding basic comprehension, reading and writing.
The grade 9s I used to teach, they were highly competitive. They were highly competitive because they knew what to speak, they knew what to write, they understood, they followed.
A few years later, following the introduction of the OBE, a widespread condemnation surfaced. Parents, teachers and even members of the parliament have widely debated and criticized the implementation of the outcome-based education reform.
Maybe like at our shift classes, now pikinini sa kamlo morning, na sometimes kamlo abinon, just like make him na or pikinini in opilim good to mass because I'm more likely pikinini inside elementary. So maybe like bungi molken lo ogera kamlo one plus time taso lo inside long school, only comes taso im too overcrowded inside long classroom.
After a series of evaluations on the successes and failures of the OBE, the National Education Department slowly phased out the system.
A lot of materials we do not really have in our schools to do with resource books that we teachers can get more information to teach the learning outcomes that are in the new OBE system.
In the old system, primary school ended in grade 6. In grade 7, 8, 9 and 10, students were taught by teachers specialized in various subject areas. When the reform was introduced, primary schools were told to take in grades 7 and 8, but many schools didn't have the teachers, classrooms or the materials to adequately implement the policy.
And we have increased this year, maybe about 200 something again. So we have to find a space for them. We cannot send them away. We want to send them away. But the government said, don't send the kids away. You have to find a space. What is space talking about? That's classroom sizes, we're still saying. That's one of the problems. We have to have extra money. Maybe we make a makeshift classroom for these children too.
OB is spaced out. Another curriculum will be taking place. We don't know what sort of curriculum, but teachers are ready to take it on board. As I've said, as long as money, materials, teachers can, they are in the agent of change, so they can do it.
The problem was not only restricted to primary schools, it extended to elementary schools. When the elementary school reforms were introduced by the government in the mid-90s with a goal of achieving universal primary education, it found that there was a severe teacher shortage. So it recruited former students who dropped out from grade 8, 10 and 12 and put them through an intensive teacher training. So in short, those who had difficulties in school themselves were expected to shape young minds in elementary and primary schools. To fix the problem, the National Education Department introduced yet again the standard-based education to be rolled out in all schools this year. The new policy will cover new set of training to help teachers understand the basics of primary and elementary school teaching and to a large extent upgrade teachers' qualifications. The new policy aims at retaining the education standard before the inception of the mid-90s reform. The training is centered around conducting teachers' awareness training. Every twice a week, teachers will go through various training, including the using of English language that will be made compulsory in elementary and primary schools, and also other relevant teaching training to prepare students prior to entering primary and secondary education. The education reform is expected to restore PNG's education system to its old days and also to regain those lost confidence in the PNG's education system.
The national government has announced it will continue with its tuition fee-free education policy in 2015. This policy has been introduced to encourage all school-aged children to have an opportunity to have access to education through the formal education system. Here's a look at what parents from Leh, Morobe province think of this initiative.
This was the scene outside banks and loan businesses in Leh in the weeks leading up to the resumption of the 2015 academic year. Parents lining up to seek assistance to borrow money to pay for their children's school fees. But all these scenes represent a government's education policy that appears to be ineffective. In 2012, the government announced its tuition fee-free policy. The policy aims to assist every child with school fees from the government subsidy and that schools won't be charging fees to its students.
Because national government is saying no fees, but as I've said, decentralization has been taking place and power has been given to the provincial level. So we are taking the direction given by the provincial advisor. So I'm still imposing the project people. If anything happens, that can be refunded once we see that our basket is full.
But over the past 3 years, the policy has drawn criticisms as schools continue to charge parents with project fees.
Education department can come out and tell us clearly, especially the parent. I'm not sure, Thomas, but some schools will misusing this like on top project fee, but school misusing. All papa mama ino hamu mas lo dislato, and so papa mi plus also more fees mi plus pute mi more using lo projects that.
Since the inception of the policy into Morobe schools, it brought with it a list of challenges. This is Lay St. Paul's Primary School. It is one of the largest primary schools in Lay City. The deputy head teacher, Gecko Genkawa, explains why the school is still charging fees.
Regarding other projects that we have in place, they are charging government policies saying that free, but it came in a short term. Time frame is too short for the school to plan. So if they say it's free education, then they should give us, all the schools across the nation, 5 years to put things in place. Then by 2020, then all students are allowed to go to school free. But in order to develop buildings and projects like this, we need money to help the school to run. When it's going to come in, the TFF money is going to come in. And that is where we have projects in order collecting the fee in order to help kickstart the school year.
At a press conference last month, the Education Minister Nick Kuman officially announced that schools must discontinue charging extra fees and that all the fees will be subsidized by the national government through the National Education Department.
I'm pleased to announce that the National Education Board set in November and approved that there won't be any more school fees or project fees to be charged to every child that goes to schools from elementary school to pre-12. Simply because the government has provided all the school fees. There is no point for any school to charge any fees.
Since 2012, many primary and secondary schools in the country have been charging students project fees despite the inception of the free education policy.
And our provincial government, I believe they are also supportive on that. We are imposing the fees. We are not charging on a new fee. We are not putting any new fees, the project yet. We are on an old project. The money is collected for the old project to complete. At the same time, the school year must start with the money.
For some, they were not made clearly aware of the government's arrangements with schools on project fees and whether their money would be reimbursed or not.
Yes, I want to big topic and come up na planting man like him, planting no like him. Lo miet, we look him yes government. I'm through him by but the payment ya, I'm no sakam hari ablo school. I'm through miet misal looking. So now beginning go to school, all like him photocopy, now like him kind something na. I'm supposed money no go how about him? Also miet me look live na, miet me one velos me babam na school to sem. Bian em bari embassy me one velos la.
As parents continue to fulfill schools' requirements, their expectations lie at making sure their school children's education needs remains a responsibility the schools will have to cater for by providing all necessary school resources or materials. Schools like St. Paul's Primary and Hohenville Primary are some of these schools that rely on project fees to meet expenses like stationery, classroom infrastructure, and water bills.
Any school that imposes the project fees from the students, I will instruct the department to hold back their TFF. You do it right and we'll do it right.
Despite the National Department of Education issuing warnings on schools for charging students project fees, the results were unsatisfactory. At least 300 million kina have been promised by the government to be released to schools to subsidize the costs, and the discontinuation of the fees charged hinges on the release of similar funds every year.
That ends Skul Bilong Yu for this month. If you wish to view this episode of Skul Bilong Yu once more, you can log on to our website www.emtv.com.pg. You can contact us via our Facebook page, search for Skul Bilong Yu and leave your comments. You can also email us on the address showing on your screen. Until the next time, have a blessed week.